I want to talk about the ways that we might unintentionally traumatize children, particularly girls.
How you mirror love and relationships and communication to your child is what they pick up on. For example, let's say you're a father and you dote on your daughter and you use words like, you're so kind and you're so talented and your
You is
daddy's,
smart.
yeah,
You is important, Rick.
all these things with your daughter. But you're not conscious of this, or maybe you are conscious of this with your son. You don't use those words. You're like, all right, little man, you got this. And so you may not be aware that you're projecting this onto your child because maybe that's what you were taught, or maybe there's this inner fear of you not preparing your child for the world, which is a reality for Black fathers and Black boys, because you don't want your kid to be perceived as soft and then run into the world and have problems and not be able to defend themselves, right?
That's a
So there's a lot of
conundrum.
yeah, there's a lot of trauma within our community. There's this cultural people pleasing, or in my book I refer to as masochism, where girls are expected to provide, to be patient, to
To
be great, yeah,
nurture.
gracious, to sacrifice their own happiness for the family, like to not be boastful, to not seem confident, to be all these things. Whereas their brother doesn't have the same,
You know,
type
boys will
of
be boys.
responsibilities.
There's all these
Correct.
adages for just permissibility to do basically whatever they want.
Right. And then when you do that with your child, again, think biopsychosocial, you're creating a social environment where there's more stress and responsibility for a girl and more permission and a grace for a boy to do whatever they want. So that in itself creates pressure on the system. And so when you are raising a child, again, we're all guilty of this. We all have our inherent biases, but just be aware of that. Think about what you were raised as, like how you were raised. For me, I was raised in a very religious household. I had it was three girls and one boy, and the boy definitely got to do more than the girls, right? So I'm aware now as to how that comes into play with my daughter, and I have to constantly remind myself. And I think that for parents, just be aware of how you were raised and your attachment style and what you were taught and how that is being, carried out in your own relationship with your child. Awareness, again, remember that's the validation, the acknowledgement. That's the first step. And then when you know that, then it'll inform the way that you raise your child, hopefully.